Today, we get the inside scoop on radio news. We talk to one of the best newsreaders in the business about the current state of Australian radio news, the person who'll tell major news stories can take on not just the news team, but the staff at the radio around the country and the future. What role will AI play in moving forward? Let's find out.
We hear from our Lord Mayor, with Brisbane named as one of the world's top 50 destinations for 2023. Good morning, I'm Monique Dews.
Your news now.
Brisbane has been named one of the world's top 50 destinations for 2023.
Hi and welcome to the Quarter Hour Podcast. I'm Liam Renton along with Wade Kingsley, and today, radio news is the news. Our guest was the news director of Nova for over a decade. She won 2 ACRAs for Best FM Newsreader Metropolitan and has been heard on our radios as a trusted voice when news breaks for many years.
Brisbane's 882 4BC.
It's 7 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Monique Dews. Flags are flying at half-mast in honour of the 15 innocent victims killed in a deadly terrorist attack on Sydney's Bondi Beach.
Monique Dews, welcome to the Quarter Hour Podcast.
Thank you, Liam. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Tell me where you got your start in radio.
I got my start at 4BK, and I'm really showing my age, right? Because 4BK ended up going on to become B105. But I had a couple of years at 4BK, and the great John Knox hired me before I'd even finished my university degree, which was unheard of now when I think about it. I was so young. I was like 18, 19. And he gave me my first job in the newsroom, and it was 4BK, and then it wasn't too long after that it turned into B105, and that basically triggered a 30-year career trajectory. But that's where I started, in Brizzy.
So were you there for the launch of B105?
I was, which was amazing. It was, and I've been so fortunate to be part of 2 launches, B105 and then later the Nova network in Sydney. But yeah, I was there for the B105 launch, and that was huge, and it was so successful.
Yeah.
Going into FM, it was ratings gold. They were just owning Brisbane. It was really, really successful, and I would say it would have been like 10 golden years on B105 after launch.
Wow.
And working with the greats, you know them, Jamie Dunn, Ian Skippon, Donna Lynch, everyone was there at that time. Yeah, it was a ride.
Did you always love news? Like, was news what drew you to radio?
I think so, because that's kind of what I focused on at university. It was just something that I naturally flowed into. I found it easy, as in I loved actually reading the news. I liked the content side of things and the facts and the investigation and digging down into those big stories. You know, I'm probably more of a serious insect than I am a comedy insect. So it suited me being in news. I loved it. And the camaraderie in a newsroom, like, you know, the newsrooms back then were much bigger. You had 6 or 8 people, up to 10 people. You know, if you went on the road, you had sports reporters. There were really big teams. And it was fun. It was just a lot of fun.
You touched on it. Tell us your radio adventure. Like, where have you worked? Give us a list of the stations.
Practically every single network. So obviously B105. I worked for Nova for many, many years in Sydney, which was fantastic. And the startup of Nova, which was such a defining moment for my career, to be there for the launch of Nova. That was in 2001. And very shortly after I started, I was made news director there. So, you know, the golden years of Nova, that was pretty incredible. 9 Radio recently did a stint at 4BC. I've worked at SEN.
There was a decade, some would say, the golden era of 97.3, which became KISS in Brisbane as well. You were huge on that station.
So I did an 11-year stint on KISS 97.3, and I was so lucky to get that gig. Duncan Campbell, I was in Sydney at the time, and the job came up in Brizzy, and he said, "Do you want to go?" I said, "Yeah." And 11 years on that team, and that was just such a vibe. Like, we really owned the city, and we were number one again and again and again. I got really comfortable with being number one.
Yeah,
97.3 was a great ride. I kind of feel like I've done 10 years at each different network, and then I move on to another one.
Yeah. Give me some more stories. What's it like working in a newsroom?
Look, it's exciting because obviously there's a breaking news element, but it's also at times, I don't think we talk about this enough, really stressful, Liam. You know, especially when you're dealing with some of the worst sort of breaking news from around the world. Probably the most difficult was 9/11. I think I was at that time that broke. That was 2001. So I was a couple of weeks into news director, and 9/11 broke, and that was insane. We basically did not leave the stations. Like I just basically moved into the station for the next 5 weeks, pretty much. And we were doing coverage across the night, across the days, extended bulletins, special interviews. It was just so all-consuming. And I would say that would be the defining moment. I mean, and it went for so long, like the tentacles of that story went for months and months and months and months. It was amazing to be there, but also at the end of that 9/11 stint, I was like, whoa, I really need a holiday somewhere.
I mean, do newsrooms differ? Have you worked in newsrooms where it was important to be the first, or was it important to be the most accurate? Like, how do they differ?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think on the music stations, less emphasis on breaking news and more on entertaining content. So obviously it has to be factual, it has to be important, but you also had the other elements of entertainment news coming in, which really had a lot of light and shade in your bulletins because of that, which I actually really loved. Of course, you need the accuracy. Of course, you need to be across important breaking news, but there was just a lot more variety within the FM sort of format. You take someone or a group like, say, the 9 radio networks, so 4BC that I was working for, they're very much focused on breaking news. If it's breaking, get it on as fast as possible, far more serious sort of attitude, less entertainment focused. So that's different in those philosophies, but also with the music networks, they're just so much shorter. The bulletins are so much shorter.
Well,
so
how do you feel about that? How do you feel about FM bulletin being, 90 seconds at times?
Well, it's a skill. It's a skill to distill down the big stories of the day to make sure you're hitting all the key elements of people getting all the information that they need in a short period of time. So I actually really liked short format. I enjoyed that. And you also had a higher story count as well. So I found you would do like almost headlines. So you might do, 12 different stories, and they would be boom, 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 boom. Here are the headlines that you need to know. Top national stories, top local stories, top entertainment stories, and then sport. So I actually liked it because it was really a lot of variety and it went very quickly and it sounded really good on air. And if there was any need for extension, if there was anything happening that was really amazing, then of course you could always just jump in with the breakfast teams and have a chat, which was really great too.
Who are your favourite newsreaders? Sure. Like, who do you like to listen to on the radio?
I would say top of my list would be the late, great Glenn Daniel.
Yes.
Yeah, he was just such a beautiful newsreader in that he was so calming and so he had this really smooth, lovely voice where you just trusted whatever Glenn said. But you also had the great David White, the mighty Whitey, Katrina Jones, who's still on air today. So she's with the Christian O'Connell show. I think she's a great reader. Christy Warner from Nova.
Yeah, right.
I think she won 5 different ACRAs in a row, 5 for Best Newsreader, 5 ACRAs in a row, which I think was unprecedented at the time. She was a really amazing newsreader. I won 2, which was pretty good.
Yeah, you did okay.
She won 5. She was really, really on the top of her game. Ange Anderson, Jeff Field, they'd probably be my top
All
pick.
the big names. Can TV journos transition to radio? We see a little bit of it. Does it work?
It certainly can work, and I think that there are some people who are more suited to it than others. But radio news reading, I think, are really a particular nuance. You're not relying at all on faces and pictures. It's all about the voice. So there are some people who do that better than others. Georgie Gardner, if you remember, she was really big on Nova, and she's obviously a TV newsreader as well. She really was someone who could span both radio and TV very, very well. And she has a beautiful reading style.
You've mentioned Nova. Dean Buchanan said in a recent interview that your role was crucial to Nova's success. How'd that make you feel?
Oh, that makes me feel really good. And look, kudos to him. He really valued the newsroom and valued setting up a newsroom with enough resources, enough people, and enough leverage and freedom to do great things on air. He was willing to let newsreaders go longer if they needed to. So I think he was as part of that. It was a two-way street, really. He just loved news. He really respected it. And that was from the get-go, from the moment that Nova launched. He had that mentality. And we got to do some really, really cool stuff, 9/11 being a part of that. But he just really liked news people as well. You know, he's sometimes programming bosses, the news is a little room at the end of the corridor that we don't visit very much. And, they get their 3 minutes at the top of the hour, but we don't really have a lot to do with them. Whereas I felt like there was a lot of integration between Nova, the newsroom, and general programming. And Katrina Blowers also was amazing. She also was a great newsreader and knows Nova days. And she was a real example of how news was integrated into programming, as well as the newsroom. You know, she had such a big voice in the programming for breakfast shows. I think Dean got it, and I really, really loved working with Dean because of that. But that's a huge compliment. Thanks, Dean.
I've seen you'd been dragged into many an on-air conversation with various brekkie shows. Should a newsreader be in the on-air chats? Is that part of the role?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's really important for the integration of the show, but also particularly in the music format. You know, the breakfast teams are all about comedy, light, fun, energy, getting you through your day, music. And if something serious breaks, I think that they have someone they can go to bring in to talk about, you know, something with gravitas and give people the facts and that information. It's a huge resource for them as well. I absolutely think they should be on air.
What about with a pie eating competition or the latest stunt? Should you be involved with that as well?
Oh, the latest stunt stuff. Oh my goodness. I know. I love that era. It probably still is continuing of getting a radio newsreader to do crazy things like, you know, read the news while there's a snake on the desk, or, you know, make them read the news with no pants on, or whatever the case is. That sort of stunt mentality. I think there's a place for it. There's a fine line.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you should go overboard with it and do a stunt a week for the poor newsreader, but it definitely adds a bit of fun.
We're seeing AI come into news more and more. Will it hang around? Is there a need for the personal touch when it comes to reading news?
Oh, AI. I feel like we need to embrace it. Like, we can't ignore that it's there. And I think it is really helpful for things like recording press conferences and spitting out transcripts of what politicians are saying, for example, or writing summaries of news stories. But where I feel it gets a bit dicey is where AI is used to replicate newsreaders. I think that's a line we shouldn't cross, because the news reading role, it's so important. You know, people listen because they trust the newsreader, because it's a familiar voice, because it's an actual human with emotional intelligence. And I think really good newsreaders have a delivery that should really land with their listeners. There's emotional intelligence, there's empathy, there's ability to get when stories are more serious and when they're lighter, and to adjust your reading style accordingly. And I think if you had AI cloning voices, for example, or copying a particular newsreader and then spitting out AI versions of multiple news bulletins, I think you would absolutely lose that, and I think the listeners would pick it up. So I hope it doesn't come to that.
On that, what's your advice for up-and-coming journos?
Just to have a really broad knowledge of everything. I think newsreaders, there's a lot of demand on them now to be across international news, national news, sport, entertainment. Just make sure that you're watching the news every night and you're across what's happening, even if it's generally, because I do see some young journos come into the game and they're like, oh, I'm not really into cricket, I have no idea, or oh, I don't really care about national politics, I like international news, or whatever the case may be. And I feel like you need to be a really good all-rounder to be an FM newsreader or even an AM newsreader, really. You need to have a really good all-round kind of understanding of the world. I would say do that and then study the masters. Find a newsreader that you like, be it TV, be it radio. It doesn't matter. And just listen to them over and over again and kind of get some clarity around what you like about them. Is it their warmth? Is it their tone? Is it their pace? And then try to emulate that. And then even reach out to those newsreaders and say, hey, look, I've just put together an air check. Would you mind having a listen and giving me your feedback? I think most newsreaders, whether they're starting out or at the top of their game, are always really open to giving people feedback, those who are coming through the industry. I think there's always time for that. And people really value someone who's willing to reach out and take that risk and go, oh, you don't know me, but hey, here's my air check. So I would say if you're really serious about being in broadcast news, that you take those steps and then just keep learning, keep evolving, being across the technology and just really absorbing everything you can.
I've been fortunate enough to hear you read the news hundreds of times, and every time I hear you, it is just perfection. Every time, your sound, your tone, like it's pure velvet, Mon. It is. Like you just have this pace and tone down pat. And you could read me the phone book, to be honest with you. You should do an app putting me to sleep at night. You're so good. Like you are the best at what you do. We appreciate the advice. Really good to hear your take on modern day news. Thank you so much. And we really appreciate you being on the Quarter Hour podcast.
I love talking to you. Thanks, Liam.